Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast ahead of NRL Supercoach Round 1, proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. It's Christmas Day for Supercoach's Team List Tuesday for Round 1, Part 2 after the Vegas Openers. I'm your host, Tim Williams, fresh off the plane from Las Vegas, a few brain cells lighter as well. Jumped off the plane just a few hours ago. A big day, big 24 hours, big 48 hours, but we're back on deck for, as I said, one of the biggest days of the Supercoach season. Here to talk through it with me, the SC Spy. Spy, how are you, mate?
Timo, going well. Fresher than you, mate, I imagine. Had a pretty quiet weekend. Watched a bit of footy and, yeah, raring to go.
I was on fumes at the moment until those team lists came out and they got me up and about excited. So we've got a bit more left in us. And Spy, a few concerns for you, mate. I noticed the hat on tonight. Pre-show, you're worried about the hair might be finally starting to give away.
Notice that I'm not happy with it at the moment. The shape's not there, so had to throw on the Billabong cap, but we'll get it right for coming weeks. Don't you worry.
It'll be right for round 2.
And if I've got a hat on at Magic Round this year, I'm still not happy.
Also with us for today's show, as always, Matty the Waterboy. Matty, how are you?
I'm good. Just like Spy, I'm much fresher than you. I did not go to Vegas. I was actually in here watching the game with my friends on Sunday. It was a nice chilled out day. I'm just glad rugby league's back.
Oh, it's so good to have it back. Good one for you boys. Jumped on the flight on Sunday US time, so the day after the games, and got to the airport, run straight into all the Raiders boys were there, then ran into the Panthers boys, went far out. They ended up both being on the first leg of my flight from Vegas through to San Fran. Anyway, they all boarded the plane, and all us average Joes were sitting out the front waiting to board, and they said, oh, sorry folks, there's too much weight on the plane, so 9 people are going to have to get kicked off. And I just sat there and, oh no, I'm like, that's what happens when you put 50 NRL players on there who weigh twice the average man. I went, no shit. So I almost missed the plane. Fortunately, wasn't one of the 9 to get kicked off. But I tell you what, walking down the aisle and walking past 50 NRL players, pretty daunting, all those eyes looking over. One of them was Nathan Cleary, so I'm going to shut myself up looking at that as well. But anyway, I stayed in the same row as Jesse McLean. It was all happening, so it was a fun flight back.
Yeah, good. That's awesome.
Albeit brief. Guys, if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to us, if you're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you are tuning in. Does wonders for the channel if you can do that and support us in that way. Spy, the Vegas games, over and done with. The 2 season openers. Talk to us. How's your side tracking thus far?
I think reasonably happy, mate. Obviously, Corey Horsburgh up front was devastating. Offloading at will, busy.
2 offloads in his first few minutes. You just went, oh, we're so on here.
And obviously the Raiders with their willingness to offload. If that continues, he's just an absolute lock. He was good. Chanel Harris-Tavita did a really good job for me with 51 points, so that's a really good start.
CHT.
Yes, that's awesome. Obviously with the Warriors not going overly well, let's be honest, and I don't think that's on him, but part of the problem is point creation. So with Tamari Martin lurking, I hope he can hold a spot for a few weeks, but that's a risk. Boyd. Yeah, and Tanner as well. So that's the risk I ran coming into it, but 51, and I played him as well, which was very handy. Outside of that, mate, it was a pretty quiet day for me. Obviously, Metcalf, pretty ordinary, so he might get one more look, but unless he shows a bit of something. It's not so much the score as his lack of looking like scoring for me. So, obviously, game 1, though, new combinations, Raiders are up for it, so big game for the Warriors next week. I hate to hit the alarm bells, but as someone who obviously watched Sean Johnson last year in the Warriors very closely, it's the same old problems, just not much punch through the middle, no creativity. So, hopefully they don't go down the same path as last year, but we'll see what the boys can pull up, and then we'll reassess after that.
Yeah, I reckon Webby just puts a line through that one from the Waz. For myself, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I was right in the corner, just in front. I actually put a video up. I filmed the moment he scored that try late in the game because Tarpany had just been binned. They'd had a fair bit of pressure on him, like, something's got to give here. They had a lead, so I didn't think we were going to get that massive scrambling defence late in the game of round 1. And when it went wide, I just went, Roger, yes. I think he had 22 runs, a few tackle busts, so very happy with the early signs from Roger, albeit the bad signs from the Warriors, not overly exciting. Obviously had Corey Horsburgh, Luke Metcalf, Updates got him to 12. Updates came in very quick as well, which was...
Ooh, is that promising, or is it just a Vegas special,
I think
maybe?
They're getting our hopes up. But Metcalf, one more week. Show us what you can do, mate. But one that I thought was genuine value to start. Tough start to the season. But again, Vegas, they're all over the shop. Hopefully put a line through that and he can come good. Luke Metcalf, he's over 50% ownership. So not the end of the world in that regard. And obviously the flex position will come in handy there for Metcalf owners, assuming hopefully he's the lowest in our 17 or 18 this week. Nicho Hynes, the other one I had with a solid start with 50 against Penrith. I would have been okay with that in this season opener. No goal kicking, the huge red flag. Anyway, we're going to get to Nicho Hynes and Cleary more sooner. Matty, how about yourself, mate? Team start all right for the season?
Yeah, I made a decision to, if I didn't have to pick someone from the first two games, I didn't.
Yeah.
So the Warriors, for anyone I was kind of half and half on, Tamale included, I kind of just didn't pick because I wanted to wait till today pretty much to, I didn't want to take too many risks. Some worked, some didn't. Do I wish I had Tamale a little bit? But it's not the end of the world. So, yeah, I had Corey Horsburgh who did well. I had Metcalf, but everyone had Metcalf. And who else did I have? I had someone else who went pretty good. So, yeah, I did not much to report because I tried to go as low. Oh, Cleary. Cleary was the other one.
Yeah.
Tried to go as low as possible.
That was the other one. I'll give you a little bit of credit here, Spy. Leading into the game, the teams were named. Saw Aaron Clark move to the bench, who I didn't have, but I think Dylan Walker ended up... Barnett went to lock. Ford went to prop. And I looked at the bench and just went, far out. I don't know how many minutes there's going to be for these Warriors cheapies. And I sort of said, I had Vormega at the time, and I just went, I don't feel good about this. And you sort of just said, just let go of him, wait for team this next week and see who emerges. Now... He played a handful of minutes, scored about 12 or something as well. So very relieved to have dodged that one.
Yep.
A few better options have emerged, albeit only a little bit better. But one of them was Lachlan Hubner, who again we'll get to shortly. Guys, on today's show, Team List Tuesday, the Supercoach pointers out of that. I've also done the pointers in an article on site for the moment. I'm going to extend on that and do the full analysis, hopefully first thing tomorrow morning, and get that one out for you. In the team list, some great cheapies emerged, but a lot that we're probably banking on a little bit, they have fallen out of teams, which is a bit concerning. We can do a Vegas recap, look at those two games and the players to keep an eye on ahead of round 2. Not much between Nicho and Cleary. Early points to Cleary, that being because of the goal kicking for Nicho. I think otherwise it would have been pretty tight. A few Raiders cheapies ticking boxes there as well. Metcalf, he went bust. Major team changes for our side, Spy, but mainly we're going to look at the 2RF position, which is causing a few headaches this season across the board. So we're going to look into the 2RF position on today's show. We're going to look at captains, what our plans are for that this week, and then wrap it up with a few listener questions. Seyfarth versus Kelmer, who is the better buy there? Guys, the SC Playbook League code, you can still jump in that for at least another month or two. We'll leave it open until about round 7 or 8. The code there is 434727, $1,000 in cash up for grabs to the winner of that one. And of course, the SC Playbook subscription package for less than $2 a week. You can subscribe to our premium offering, putting that one in perspective. It's a quarter of your Friday afternoon knockoff beer at the local, or a third of your daily cup of coffee. Gives you access to our premium content on site, including extra articles every single week, access to our WhatsApp community with late mail threads, community team advice threads, contributor threads to share our thoughts, our plans, punting threads, head-to-head only threads, absolutely popping off. Unlimited league prize money, our subscriber-only podcast, 3 apps live on site, a new one coming this week. They'll be going up and videoed each and every week of this season. To subscribe, head to the menu at scplaybook.com.au and find the subscribe tab. And just lastly, before we get into it, Rando, who's always helped out with SC Playbook, he was in Vegas with me as well. Maxi Bride, an MVP over the last week, Spy, stepped up and helped ensure that things run as smoothly as possible. So Maxi, he's been big this preseason.
He often is, mate. He's a man for a tough situation. He'll come in and get the job done, roll the sleeves up. So shout out to Maxi there.
Yeah, he was cooked for a bit of it as well, like bedridden, and he still chugged through it. So
they're the kind of squad blokes you need. They might not be the superstars, but like you can't win a comp without them, really.
Exactly right. The Matt Eisenhuths.
That's it.
Yeah. Let's get into Team List Tuesday for round 1. The one you've all been waiting for. We'll start with the Roosters and the Broncos on Thursday at Allianz Stadium in Sydney. Just going to go through the major talking points from these. I won't read through every team. I'm sure you've already seen them already. Mark Nwanganitawazi and Robert Toya start in the centres. Still no sign of Billy Smith, Spy, so We did think that he was probably due back around 2 or 3, but regardless, I think Robert Toya, lock him into your CT dub.
100% straight in.
Lock him in. Sandon Smith, named at 5'8" as expected. Lock him in.
Yep, done.
It's where it gets a little bit tricky. The watch was on Seal Wong and Nafahu White. White named to start at prop at 367k. I think Wong named on the bench, if it obviously stays this way game day. Put a line through him. What about Nafu White? Dual tour our front row forward. Said 367k. Spencer Leniu suspended, though, to come back into this team. They've gone with a 4-forward bench. What's your take?
So Docker Clay, we're thinking will come on at number 9. Spell Watson. Watson can also play in the middle, though. So I still think we're absolutely punting with Robinson's rotations. Nafahu White. I've had a tendency all pre-season not to put Chooks in my side. Those guys. Obviously, if Wong would have been named in the 13 jersey, that would have been like, okay, maybe
I would have probably done that.
Yeah, with the suspension for the other front rower, I think White, you could pick him. He could turn out to be one of those blokes that sort of chugs along and does similar to last year, and it could be quite frustrating. And it could be money you could have maybe downgraded him to someone else in order to free up cash elsewhere. My tendency is just to stay away from White, but in saying that, he's young. He's another year older now, so if he comes into his own, he could obviously make me look silly there, and if he goes on what he's done in the past, he could turn out to be a hell of a buy. Yeah. So, gee, it's real tricky. I'm sitting on the fence early, but I don't know about White. What do you reckon?
To repeat you, I'm not sure about the minutes rotation of what they're going to do, the Roosters. Then I said, add Spencer Leniu back in there, who there's every chance that Spencer Leniu comes back and starts for them after his suspension. Yeah. So you just go, then White becomes a bench forward, and you're like, my gut tells me no, but more than anything, my head says just wait and see the minutes.
Yeah.
See the
obviously,
rotation.
if he's killing it, we can grab him.
If he plays 2 weeks, plays big minutes, scores well, looks the good, passes the eye test, we can buy him. Just a little bit awkwardly priced. If he was 30 to 40k cheap, I'd nearly take the gamble, but yeah, could really plod along at that sort of price. What about Connor Watson with Docker Clay named on the bench? Not ideal by any means, but we know Connor Watson's a fantastic 13 as well. So got a bench of Wong, Blake Steep, Feckerty as well. So I'm just like, maybe he doesn't get 80, but I still think with the quality missing from this Roosters outfit and a new look, certainly halves pairing, I still think he's going to get good minutes.
Yeah, and look, Docker Clay doesn't have to come on the field either. If they need Connor, they'll keep him on. So, yeah, I still think Connor's a good buy. It's that whole Roosters rotation. I just don't know how it's quite going to look. Watson, my slight concern at hooker is just that he's not going to get a lot of opportunity to run the ball. He'll make a heap of tackles, but I really loved him last year at 13 when he tackled and ran a lot. I think he'll be a solid buy, Connor. Whether he'll end up being someone that can really add value to your side, I just don't know yet. I've taken him out of my side in recent weeks, but I won't knock anyone that wants to start with him, see how he goes. He can rotate up to hooker as well, which I think could be handy at some stage. So, yeah, I'm starting with a no on Watson, but I'm not knocking anyone that wants to lock him in.
I'm a yes on Watson.
Reasonable price as well.
Yeah, I'm a yes on Watson. I think the numbers around him last year averaged more in his, I think it was 4 games of 80 minutes at number 9. He's just a great footballer. Plenty of attack in him. In those games at 9 last year, there weren't many attacking stats there. And I just think with Sandon and Chad in the halves, I think he's going to take a lot on himself to create for this side.
True.
And I think he'll run it. And that's the big factor. If Sammy Walker was there, I wouldn't, because I'm just like, well, he's probably just going to feed Sammy.
Yep.
But I think he's going to take a lot on himself. So I'm going to stick with Connor Watson. And the other thing that will allow him to do, if he doesn't go well early on and after the first 2 weeks, there might be Mamazelle or also Corey Parks or one of these guys doing well.
Pick the one that's going well.
I'll go down and do that and free up cash elsewhere.
Yeah, not knocking that at all.
At the Broncos, mate, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Gurmat Shibasaki, 232k, he's in my Supercoach team.
He's in mine too.
I don't mean to be rude, but I didn't even know he was in the NRL. I thought he was still at the Cowboys. Something I know, I think it's his brother is up there at the moment. But Shibasaki with Tony Starks injured, a starting centre in what we think will be a vastly improved team in.
Yeah, straight in. Let's see what he can do.
Yep. Corey Patch wins the starting role. Billy Walters on the bench, as expected. What's your take there, mate? I don't like the potential split role. I'm concerned around minutes. That being said, you got a starting hooker at a cheap price. I don't think it's going to go too far wrong. I just think with Blake Moser also back, I think he's about around 3 or 4. not for me. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't like it. The reason you would do it is to free up that extra 100K from Mamazoulos in order to get someone you really want in the rest of your squad. But looking at past numbers, he's averaged, having a look here, 26, 26, 25, 29. In a lot of those were 36 to 40 minutes. So, I mean, say he gets another 20 minutes and he ups that average to 37 or something. I almost see that as a best case, which is okay.
He could get 55 to 60 though.
Yeah, minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant average. That means based on past, that means his average probably going around that 36, 37 mark, just purely based on previous averages. But I mean, what if he gets less? That's if he gets 60 minutes. I think Walters are still handy. I expect maybe, based on no intel, that maybe they split the role pretty well. So he's a no for me.
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe if you want to just... The only reason I'd have him is if it's freeing up cash in order to do something you want to do elsewhere. But otherwise, I've got Mamazoulos in, and he's well ahead of him for me. Yeah,
not for me, Corey Pax. Again, first 2 weeks, if he either plays big minutes at 9, maybe Walters comes on and plays in a roving sort of middle forward role.
Yeah.
Maybe Pax shifts and plays, spend some time in the middle, but just to start, not for me. Jack Dejevski, 232K, starts on the edge. People are going to go him. But Brendan Piakura has been named on the bench. This to me suggests job share, suggests to me he plays 50, maybe 60 minutes max. I sent to trap spy.
Yeah, I cut him today. As soon as Piakura was named, he was out for me. Again, look, he's cheap. So he should make some cash. But I mean...
Could also be in Q Cup by round 2.
But that's the big concern.
Or on the bench.
So I think there's a couple of back rows there who I'm happy to sort of punt on ahead of him. So yeah, he's a no for me.
Tigers v Knights, Friday 6pm at Campbelltown Stadium. Api Coruscant is suspended, so Talon De Silva starts at hooker. Don't be caught out by that one. Jack Bird, a cheapie prospect. I hadn't been keen on him all pre-season. He's been named on the bench. That puts a line through him finally. Well, not for me, but I think for other Supercoaches, surely.
Yeah, was he mid-300s? Yeah. I know people were quite keen on him, but just off the bench.
He had to start.
There's got to be someone like, what's that called? Kobe Hetherington starting at the same price. Do that. I know he might be available in centres, but it's pretty risky picking a bench player. You're going to rely on a lot of output, so
not a chance.
Plus injury history. He wasn't in my side anyway.
Further to that, we've got the front row is Terrell May and Fanua Bole, who was really good in the trial. Alex Twalls at 13. That means another cheapie, and this one hasn't surprised me that much. I actually was calling for Royce Hunt off the bench. I think he's a better player off the bench.
Yeah.
He's been named on the bench, a popular front row forward cheapie for us. Is Royce in your team or not?
Royce is. I've lost his stats here. Where are they? 2 or 3 years ago, he played about 26 minutes or something, nearly averaged 40.
Yeah, well, you can find him because I just think that fourth front row forward spot, it's so ordinary at the moment. Like, I'm feeling better and better about having 3 decent front row forward options at the moment, and then him as a fourth. I don't think he's going to score overly well. I don't think there are many better cheapie front row forward buys. But what do you think?
41 last year he averaged, Royce Hunt, in 28 minutes a game. This has absolutely thrown me. This site's gone mad because 2 minutes ago I read something totally different. So
that's right,
ignore it. But what I do want to say is Royce Hunt in limited minutes can do some damage, and his scores have been quite low compared to previous seasons. So I think he has enough output where he could potentially make us maybe over 100K. I never want to play him, but if he can go up to sort of 350, 400, and then we can make some cash off him, given the dearth of cheapies in the front row, I'm happy to start him on that.
I think I've got him with not a lot of confidence, and I never want to play him. Delano Solomon Fatape at 355K has beaten out a potential cheapie in Stafford Toa for the centre spot. Toa not named at all, so maybe there was a niggle there or something, or maybe he's just not even close to it. At the Knights, no major surprises. Spy Phoenix Crossan does start at hooker. He's dual hooker halfback. Jaden Bailey on the bench, though. There is a chance that Crossan spends some time in the middle when Brayley comes on at 9. But there's also a 4-forward bench. Adam Elliott's also in the 22 jumper. Can you make a case for Phoenix Crossan or not?
Is he worth? I think you can. I think he'll play pretty big minutes. They're obviously buying into him as their starting hooker. Brayley, by the sounds of it, he's linked with everyone at the moment, so he could be out the door.
Yeah.
I think there is a case for Phoenix. I haven't personally had a good look at him myself.
He's 341k, priced on a 35-point average in 56 minutes last season. He does a lot of distributing from whether he's playing 13 or whether he's playing 9. There's not a lot of running. Good defender. You'd really need that uptick of minutes. Like, he played 56 last year.
That is actually more than I realised.
Yeah.
56, yeah. So, 63 the year before for a 46 average. Yeah, he's probably in that middling department where you could just get a bit stuck with him.
He's an easy watch for me.
Yeah,
and
easy
if
watch.
he lands in big minutes, we can get him in that instance. But not for me to start. And here's the other one. And teams have obviously just dropped, so we're digesting this as much as you guys.
Oh,
now.
it's on the run. It's live action.
It's live action. And this one might rattle you a little bit, Spy.
I'm ready. Uh-oh.
Your boy Dylan Lucas.
Nah, he's playing 80. I don't care what you say.
4-forward bench. Lucas and Kai Pearce-Paul. Adding on to that, you've got Tyson Frizzell named at 13. We knew that was going to happen. You've got Jack Hetherington, who he shouldn't, but he does spend some time on the edge. There's, a thought that maybe if Brayley goes on, Phoenix Crossland can spend some time at 13. What if he plays 60 in round 1, Spy?
It's a 3-forward bench. Jaden's a hooker. I know that's a forward, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brayley's a hooker.
I'm just thinking if it happens, I can see Crossland spending some time at the 13, which sort of makes it a 4-forward bench.
Yeah, well, Kai Pearce-Paul might be in trouble then, but Dylan Lucas isn't.
I wouldn't take Dylan Lucas off, but I'm not the Knights coach.
Dylan's a must.
A must.
If I sound like Desi Creek, Dylan is a must. He's a gun. Absolute gun.
Jeez, I hope he plays 60 minutes.
He'll score 80 anyway. But
yeah, okay.
I prefer 180.
Now, for the record, I do think they'll probably both play 80, and I think Lucas will play 80. Just worth noting.
My stats came good on Royce Hunt, by the way.
Oh,
so
yeah?
3 years ago, he scored 40 points a game in 18 games across 29 minutes. So based on an average of 25 last year,
yeah,
it's pretty easy. He just needs to go back to that to make a fair bulk of cash. So that's good enough for me.
Dolphins versus Rabbitohs, Friday, 8:05 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium. Sounds like this one might get moved by.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Yeah, it's at Combank.
Sweet.
Yep.
Friday at 8:05, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Doubleheader Friday, thank goodness.
Oh, my God. That would have been devastating, wouldn't it?
Round 1.
Yeah. I mean, Supercoach impact. The Bunnies get not quite a home game, but it's another good Supercoach scoring surface, Combank. So
It is.
At the Dolphins, all pre-season, Chad of Avery to 5'8", and he played there in trials, and they were going to chop and change things. Nick Ream was going to miss out. And I know this is all media reports, so, you can't blame the Dolphins themselves, but gets round 1, Avery's back in centre, Cody's at 5'8", shock. They've gone with the exact team that nearly everyone would have predicted. Junior Turbo starts on the wing, just a mid-range option I thought I'd flag at 380k. Jake Avery said back to centre, Nick Ream at 5'8". Max Plasby, named on the edge.
That is interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
My thoughts are I'll be watching everything he does. I don't want to start with him because I'm pretty happy with my back row, but he's available at hooker as well, Maxi.
Yep, 63-point average from 69 minutes last year. I just haven't really seen him on the edge, so I don't know what it's going to look like. All I know is he's a bloody good footballer, and
he is a good player. He fits my mould of wanting to get guys who are just good players.
And if he can get 80 minutes, yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll have a little dabble and a little look closer to kickoff, actually. We'll just see. Maybe he could work his way in.
Yeah, so I think just a watch from me early on, but certainly one to consider there. The other two spots, Tommy Gilbert at 462k and Kuli Kefu Feni Fuiaki at 368k. They also present round 1 value in my eyes. We know Gilbert before his injury was a far better Supercoach player than his 462k average suggested. What are your thoughts on Tommy Gilbert and Feni Fuiaki?
Gilbert, very interesting. Just coming off a long injury layoff, probably happy just to see how he comes back, whether they ease him in and how he's looking. But he's got the pedigree, so I think I flagged in our chat the other day while you were probably many a beer deep at Vegas. But yeah, a little watch on Tommy Gilbert. As for Fini Fuiaki, for me, I haven't liked him all pre-season. I don't like him now. 54 minutes a game last year for an average of 38. That's across 23 games. They got Connolly Lemuelu on the bench. My boy, I really like him as a player. I don't know if there's any other back rowers, but is he playing any more than 54 to 60 minutes? Does he? I just don't know where the extra points come from and the extra minutes. Maybe ups it slightly, but even then, if he averages 43 or 44, he's awkward to play in your side. You could play him as a bench player, especially early in the season. But if he does what he did last year, which is every chance, plays 54 minutes averages about 40. It's going to be a waste of a pick.
He played 80 in 7 games last year, and last year, I know they had injuries and stuff to him, but he had Helam Lukey and Jeremiah Nanai there, so he was never going to play 80 on the edge for them. Where he's at a club now where Max Plath, who has been a middle forward, a lock, a hooker, everything before moving to the edge. So it suggests to me that unless they want Plath to become a full-time edge player, which would surprise me, I think he's better in the middle. Time will tell, though, on that one. But I sit there and I go, I think the job security is okay. I don't know if he'll play 80, but he played 80 in 7 or 8 games last year, so he can do it.
If he plays 80, obviously that changes things. I just don't feel good about it. That's all it is. There's no inside info on the Dolphins. It's Lemuelu has to get minutes out there. He's a good player. Maybe he plays in the middle. I'm not sure. Something could change, of course. But, yeah, look, if he comes out and he's playing 80, I'll have a look at him. But just screams a little bit mid-range that I don't want. The theme for me, mate, this year is I'm trying not to get too many mid-ranges that could bust. I think we had the Sean Lane era. Was that last year? And we had a few others that, and it looked so good on paper. And it just ended up having to trade him out or hold him. And I did not like it. So I've gone with some quality in my back row, and these mid-range guys, if they jump off the page in the first month, I'll grab 1 or 2 of them, but they got to prove it to me first. I
don't mind Finifuaki. I like the price at 368. He's very cheap for a bloke he's a damaging ball runner. 4-forward bench, I don't love. Kurt Donahue, he could be one of those versatile players in the competition. He played fullback in one trial.
Yeah. In saying all that, he's not going to hurt you too bad. It's not going to be a disaster.
We'll get to AF soon, but there's just not a lot of great options. So anyway, we'll one to monitor, but I'm pretty tempted by Finifuaki.
He's a bit meh for me.
Meh. You're a bit meh to me at times, Spy, but here we are. At the Bunnies, Jamie Humphries presents value at 305k, with Lewis Dodd suspended, as I've written, and halfback only, unfortunately, Humphries. I think with Dodd back next week, only available at halfback, I don't think you can start with him. I will say, though, in 2 weeks' time, ahead of round 3, we could be sitting here going, buy Humphries, because if he keeps that spot with Dodd back and he scores well, which he could, I think he's going to be a good Supercoach scorer. Yeah. He'll change things. However, I think there's every chance Dodd comes back and Humphries goes to that 14 role.
Yeah, he's right in the mix, but not for round 1.
The only
you'd be taking a punt, but if you're taking that punt, you get Duffy. So it's like...
Exactly.
Just doesn't add up.
Cody Walker also named. That's a boost for Ty Munro, owners on the left edge. It is meant he was wet in Sydney this week. Just note that one for a lot of these Sydney games. And Spy, the big one.
Lockie.
We asked and Wayne answered. Lachlan Hubner fills that spot of Wayne Bennett, of Cam Murray. 232k, starting lock and load, right?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Especially adding Jaden Sullivan on the bench. So the minutes are going to be, if nothing else, solid. So... great news for Supercoaches.
Just on the weather as well, quickly, it could be reasonably wet, but there's every chance it could be passing showers as well, which won't affect things too much. It's a few
mils each day, so there's nothing heavy predicted as such just yet. So that we'll see how that plays out by Friday.
Yeah, but I think don't panic.
It might not be too bad.
Yeah.
Dragons vs Bulldogs, 5:30 Saturday at Oakey Jubilee in Sydney. Sione Finau's missed out. This sucks. He was in my team. 4 tries in the Charity Shield. He had a concussion in that game, though. They've gone with Tuilagi, who I think he's probably locked into one wing, and Matt Finau. Nowhere to be seen in the squad, Finau. So I'm thinking, and we'll get news before the end of the week, but if he's nowhere to be seen in the squad, I'm thinking maybe that concussion has something to do with it, in which case I don't hate the idea of starting with him still.
It's pretty tempting, hey? He's got 4 tries in 28 minutes.
I will say, what I would like to know is that why he's not there, and secondly, I need to know that if he's coming back, he ends up on the left. I don't want anything to do with the right edge of the Dragons. If Moses Sully was on the left, I'd be starting with him as a pod, but everything I saw from the trials, they're left.
Oh, outside Valentine and Gutho. Yeah. Thank you very much. So
you want the left.
They're attacking as well. Like even that first couple of sets in the Charity Shield, early shifts. Finau is a noted worker. He loves the work rate. So... I really wanted him. I had him locked in. So, yeah, maybe I do what you do. I've flicked him up to Jackie Howarth at the moment because I had some spare cash.
I will say this, though, Spy. Round 1, misses. Bunnies round 2. Buy round 3. Storm round 4. If he plays round 2...
I'll wait.
If he plays round 2, he's not going to have his first price raise until round 5. So, I think he's an easy wait into that. But, there's going to be a failed cheapie that's either made a little bit of coin, we can downgrade or whatever by then if he's looking good. Annoying for our round 1 teams, but he now becomes a round 5 buy, best case anyway.
Well, I need to get rid of potentially a night centre. Not Dylan Lucas. Might be Marju by around then, so we'll have a look. The only thing I'd say is he scored 4 tries for about 140 Supercoach points against the Bunnies in 30 minutes, which equates to about 310. He plays them in round 2. So, yeah, look, that wouldn't be enough because it was a trial, and that is so unlikely to happen again, but it is worth noting.
Yeah, we can get him round 5.
You'd love to play him next week, though.
We can get him round 5.
Sorry, so you're only not named in New South Wales Cup either.
There you go.
So that's good to know.
Concussion. So you could start with him.
In saying that, I want guaranteed players.
Yeah.
To start the season. So, yeah, as you said, let's see. Post Melbourne and the bye, we'll see what's doing.
Yeah. Potential cheapie, Loco Pacifica Tonga. A lot of people picked him up, not named in the 17 either. At the Doggies, literally nothing to talk about there in terms of what was expected or not. There's a question on Jacob Preston later. We'll get to him.
I've got a random one for you.
Oh, yep.
Out of the blue.
Talk to us.
Connor Tracy. Available in the centres.
Yep.
Obviously, fullback, hard worker for the Doggies. One of my mates had him and he goes, "What do you think?" I was like, "I don't hate it."
Yeah.
The
CT dub availability is the key, obviously.
Yeah, CT dub availability, averaged 60 last year. Just another season with the side, another pre-season. Maybe he improves. Worst case, he works that hard that he'll always score well for you to start the season. Just a bit of a smoky. I quite liked it.
He's a tackle buster. His ball playing seems like getting better because he's been there. He's spent a lot of time in the halves.
Yep.
I don't mind it at all.
Just an interesting one to start the season.
Yeah.
Pretty good draw. Maybe he's a little smoky in the
Don't mind the Connor Tracy play at all.
Shout out to Bretto, newly subscribed SC Playbook man as well. If he hasn't done it yet, I'll come around to your house, mate.
He'll be top 100 this year.
Yeah,
moving on. Yeah, not a lot else to talk about. Harry Hayes made the bench for the Doggies there, but obviously Josh Curran's to come back into that lineup as well. Moving on from that one to Manly and the Cowboys. At Manly, this one's at Brookie Oval, 7:35 on Saturday evening. Jazz Tavanga starts at hooker spy.
Just 7:30 footy Saturday night.
I thought you were getting excited at Jazz Tavanga, then I was going to say, Jesus, mate, settle down.
I think I owned him for the game. He had 50 tackles and 22 hit-ups a few years ago, but yeah, that's not happening.
I think he's a tick under 400k, Jazz. Lockie Croker due back around 345-ish. Jake Simpson on the bench. You can't do it, can you?
Gosh, no.
Siwa Takiaho. I need to double check this, but like he's priced at 453k. I'm pretty sure he played 10 games in 2 seasons in the Super League for Catalans. He's been stitched up by the price.
He has.
There. He should not be 453k.
His last season at the Chooks, there was a noted decline in he's for me one of the most underrated forwards of
he was unreal.
Like the decade. Absolute gun.
And he's been priced on that.
Yeah, I'm like, hang on, it's 3 years on now or whatever. So yeah, we'll see what he's doing, but he's not prime Takiaho anymore. Obviously for Manly, hopefully he can do a job, but Supercoach wise, nah.
And in the rush to get this article out, I spelt following wrong, but we'll fix that. Not a huge drama. But yeah, starting prop. So a watch, certainly a watch.
Definitely a watch, absolutely.
Especially Blake got a great offload on him. Lehigh Hopewadi, Jason Saab named on the wings. Tommy Talau not to be seen. Spy, you were red hot keen on Lehigh Hopewadi all pre-season. He's not in your team though.
I was. I still like him, but I can't afford him with Garrick and Lucas in there. Just how my squad's set up more than anything.
Could you go Marju to him?
No. I couldn't. And I'm very tempted. We were chatting off air at one stage. You said obviously that base is a risk.
Yeah.
For me, Lehigh is just kind of like things happen around him. The ball comes to him and stuff happens. So I really like him. He's a nice early season flyer. Just be aware that if you take him, he may score a 25 or he could get 2 25s, which would be a blow.
Or he could score 225.
He could. He's a good player. Outside of firing Tommy, who, by the way, saw a photo of him coming out of the surf the other day. Ripped.
Oh, God.
Tommy Turbo. Watch out.
At the Cowboys, Tom Duffy popped the champagne spy. Thought he was going to, but just to see the confirmation of that, very, very relieving. Wins the starting halfback spot. Not a lot to be said about him for the moment. There's a question around him coming up shortly when we talk about Cleary and Hynes there. So hold off that. But the big one's by Jake Clifford, named on the extender bench.
Huge.
So he's won it on merit.
Yes.
Takes a lot of risk out of it.
Come on, Duff, lad.
Yeah, come on, Duffy.
Have a big one, son.
I know. Jackson Purdue also confirmed at centre. Buy him. Buy.
Oh, he's playing in my 17.
Locked and loaded. Sam McIntyre starts at prop 396k. 4 forward bench though. Taumlolo on the extended bench. A watch for me around the minutes of this entire pack. The output of Cohen Hess, Sam McIntyre early, but a few watches there. John Bateman, another one who we'll touch on in our back row analysis as well. Storm versus Eels to wrap it up. Nothing to touch on at the Storm outside of Ryan Pappenhausen named despite an injury concern with him, which is exciting. The
just to Melbourne, Eli Katoa, I've chatted in pre-season articles. I'd love to start with him. The round 2 buy is it's so annoying. Especially when you get someone like Ola Kawatu at a very similar price, who obviously plays those games. Then he has Penrith. So I've gone back to Ola Kawatu at the moment, just for he could have a really big 3 or 4 weeks where Ellie has a buy into Penrith. But gee, he could torch Para.
What price is he at, Spy?
Price? How'd that come out?
That's right. I stuffed up the intro to the show.
Yeah, but I'd really like to start with him. Still might find a way, but
we'll get to
the draw's frustrating.
We're going
to talk back rows.
Because I've got my eyes on him as well.
Yeah.
And all I'd say, Spy, is that back row slot. Sorry, not the back row slot, but the buy. It's 1 week. It's going to keep people away. I don't think it's that bad a thing.
If it was Para by Dolphins, it'd be a lot better than Para by Penrith. That's annoying me. Two tough weeks.
At the Eels, heaps going on there. Jake Tungo starts on the wing. Josh Adokar suspended. Note that one. Mitchie Moses. Parramatta have kept this one very quiet. Well done to them.
Yeah, kudos.
So Ronald Volkman starts at 7. Mitch Moses nowhere to be seen. Obviously an injury niggle. Does this impact Parramatta players that you're interested in at all, like in general, Spy? Like I know I've spoken to Guru and he said it sort of got him questioning a few selections.
Hurts Iongi, certainly. Not dramatically, but just if you want to play outside someone, it's Mitch Moses, obviously. I do like Volkman as a player.
You know what? I will say, this is off the top of the dome a little bit, but he does do a lot of crabbing across and bringing blokes under and doing all that. Mitch Moses. Volkman plays very direct.
Pretty direct.
Squares up, which I think helps fullbacks because it just creates that space for them.
Yeah. All Iongi needs is a half sniff of a 3-on-2 and he will make you pay. He'll either run or throw that cut ball. So, I'm not knocking Volkman at all. I still just think playing outside Moses and Brown as a combination, it's just going to suit much better. So, interesting. That helps. As someone who doesn't have Iongi in his side, I'm happy to see it.
Brendan Hands, named at 9. Named at number 14, though. Promising rookie number 9, Riley Smith.
Gun.
Recently promoted to the top 30. Looked great in the trial. Gun. Line through Brendan Hands.
Gone.
Line through Brendan Hands. If Riley Smith goes all right, though, he'll be a bottom dollar number 9 by at some stage, potentially. So.
Because his minutes will just be on the up if he shows he can cut it.
So that's exciting. The edge back rowers. Kelma Tuilagi, 433k. Jack Williams, the Cooma Stallion. Promoted into the leadership group for them. Played a bit of edge coming through the grades, but he's been a middle forward for a long time now. I think there was 1 or 2 games here and there at the Sharks. He did it when they had injuries, but what are your thoughts on these two, mate? Tuilagi's dropped out of my side. Jack, big work rate. I'm not entirely convinced about. I'm just worried about the edges. They've got Ryan Madison on the bench. Do they get all their minutes?
Dury as well.
Cardi's not in the 17. He's missed it entirely. What do you reckon?
They're straight in that mid-range mould of the guys I don't want. Kelma, I was a little bit off him prior to the trial. Then he had an absolute bludger against the Tigers. Might have just been Russ. Might have just been a bad night. We know he can score tries and he's got attack in him, but I think it's a risky play that could absolutely pay off. Don't get me wrong. You come out the first week, you could score 80 or 90 and you're cheering. He plays Melbourne, rotation risk. I'm not overly keen on him. I've got Seyfarth instead, who I can just trust just to go out, work hard, do a job, make his tackles. I'm Seyfarth over Kelma.
Kelma could come out and go nuts from round 1. And I think if he plays his minutes, he scores well. I do.
If he gets 80, if I knew he was getting 80 as a fact, I would play him. But there's a question.
He could also come out and miss 2 tackles in the first 10 minutes and get hooked. And it wouldn't surprise me.
100% he could, yeah.
So I'm going to watch. If I need to buy him round 3, I'll buy him round 3. Nate, the cheapie there. Charlie Geimer. I get good energy. I get good vibes from him. 232k. Again, another one in this back row position where I don't think it's a great spot to start the season. Riley Smith means there's 2 hookers in the squad. You've got Dury there, probably doesn't play big minutes. Madison, he'll get good time. And then Geimer, who in games last year when he played for Parra before an injury, he was great worker. I think I'm going to plug him in.
Yeah, and got the discount because he only played 2 games, 40 minutes for an average of about 40 points. Love that. He's just a goer, young Charlie. So also someone I can get around in my side. I want to cheer a bloke like that home. So won't have to play him in my side, but if he can just sit there, free up cash, do a job. Ideally, Hubner will score okay for us, which would mean I have 5 viable options in the back row, and then Guyman can just sit there, just making money for me. If he goes even better, I'll play him one day. But yeah, I'm happy to have him.
Excellent. Greg's boy as well, my old stomping ground.
Beautiful.
So even more reason to get around him, Spy. I think he could easily plod and not score that well, not get minutes. But I think when weighing him up against a lot of other back row options there in the cheapie range, he ticks a few boxes for me, largely around eye test. So
I just trust he's secured a bit more than a Gajewski who could be out. Whereas I think Guyman has that opportunity to lock down that maybe 40-minute role. Just week in, week out, roles can rely on him. So I'll be relying on that. Again, I don't need much out of him. If he can average me 40, thanks for coming.
Matty, what about for you, mate? Looking at the team list that came out this afternoon, were there any, we touched on a fair bit there, was there anything else that we missed out on, you think, or any significant changes that we may have touched on to your team as a result?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of things that shocked me. I think I wasn't too sure about what was going to happen with the Eels. Is Cartwright injured, or because he's not even?
I don't know. I'm getting the idea he's on the outer a bit, right?
That's
because he was
what I'm
named on the
thinking.
bench in trials as well, and I just
The other team that I'm curious about is the Dragons. Emery Gould is starting at prop. They've got a debutant, Hamish Stewart, who's obviously bottom dollar. He's come off the bench. It's just interesting. It was going to be interesting to see how they rotate, their front row rotation, especially now that Molo's gone. Clemmer's obviously going to come in, so it's a bit tough there. But I think the Dragons are one to watch. I reckon they're going to be good this year. Other than that, it's a bit hard to comment because you've kind of gone through everything. I think the big watch this week is going to be Lachlan Hubner. I thought a week ago, Tallis Duncan was going to be the 13, but clearly not.
They're doing everything in their power. It doesn't matter who the coach is to not start Tallis Duncan.
They love it. They love having him off the bench for whatever reason. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with Wayne. So a lot's going on. There's a lot to think about for me personally with my team. A lot of changes that are going to have to be made. But yeah, a lot going on.
You're 100% in it as well. When I was in Vegas, I'm getting messages left.
Yeah, I was annoying you.
This, that. What are your thoughts? Doing this, doing that. I'm like, we've got Matty.
Yeah.
Not that we never didn't have you, but you've gone to a new level this year, which is good early signs.
Big time. Shout out to my mate, Daniel Hahn. Me and him have been non-stop back and forth all week. And you being overseas saved you from a lot of texts, I reckon, because as soon as it hit 5 p.m. in Sydney, I was like, Timmy's either asleep or he's on the table, so I better not bother him.
Matty, awesome to see, mate. Don't be shy if you want to come really up at a level. You're welcome to text me, mate.
Yeah, true.
I don't mind. You can send it across if you just want to just really give yourself that real chance at a cracking second season.
I might text you both at the same time, and then I'll judge who gives me the best response.
It'd be pretty clear.
Spy might be able to help propel you into the top 20k this year, mate. So. Spy, let's touch on the Vegas games and what we learned from those. And the first one is Cleary v Nico. And obviously Tom Duffy comes into this as well, because if he comes out and scores well the next 2 weeks, and certainly, this weekend, let's keep it short term, puts a lot of pressure on Cleary and Nico owners moving into round 3 and before those initial price rises. Now, scoring-wise, I think they've come off dead even in terms of what Cleary finished with. You got up there?
68 for Nath.
50 for Nico, but Nico obviously
he played the hardest. He played the hardest side in the comp.
The hardest side in the comp. So I think I said going into it, I was not expecting massive things from Nico against the Penrith Panthers in Vegas in round 1. The alarm bell is the non-goal kicking. He kicked in the trial game against the Raiders. He stopped after 1 or 2 of them, and he had reported groin tightness. Trindle took over. He was seen kicking by the Roo the day before at the captain's run, having a few nudges. And we thought, okay, cool. If he's kicking there, he should be kicking the next day. He didn't.
Obviously, he wasn't quite happy with how he's feeling.
Yeah. So obviously this tilts the Cleary v Nico debate in Cleary's favour because he's goal kicking. And if Nico's not, well, you go, geez, he has to score really well to sort of keep up with Cleary. I suppose the big thing is at least they've got 2 weeks now. Surely Nico is the number one kicker at the Sharks if he's good to go.
I thought you were going to say surely he's going to kick, says you as an owner. But yes, if he's healthy, 100%. He kicked it nearly 86% last year.
Yeah.
Trindle's, I had a look, he's a career 74% sharpshooter, which means he's okay, but he's not great.
Yeah.
So Hynes has to be the kicker. All logic dictates that, unless this niggle hangs.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to want him healthy on the field, prioritised over goal kicking, especially this part of the season. But yeah, I think he'd be kicking, so hopefully that niggle for you guys and girls who did start him goes away because it's massive. It's massive. It's everything.
So taking that goal kicking impact out of it, because as you said, like, first and foremost, don't panic on Cleary or Nico because it's one game. And Nico had a nice try assist early, went toward it a little bit stages later on. Cleary looked class and easily could have gone up on that 68. He looked the better of the two. That being said, eye test, Cleary is the better of the two. He's a better footballer. Like, there's no debate about that. We're talking Supercoach wise.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of chat around, it's Trindle's team now, he's taken over. Nico still had more touches in this game by four touches than Trindle. We're just so used to seeing Nico Hynes as like a super dominant ball player and getting millions of touches. But all this chat of like it's only Trindle's team, Nico's still getting a lot of touches. So I wouldn't stress too much about that. And it could even open him up in some attacking positions as well. So I'm not too worried there. The big one, as I said, comes with Tom Duffy. I think those that started with only one of Cleary and Nico alongside Duffy, this could change very quickly by the end of the weekend, but they're the early winners because both Cleary and Nico have scored substantially below their starting value. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, firstly, when people say it's Trindle's team, he's getting the halfback duties.
The boring touches.
Yep. A lot of the boring touches. He does get a lot of last tackle kicking, which hurts Nico for extra try assists. What it does do for Nico, whilst it takes away his opportunity to score more, what we love about Nico is that he just accumulates points through a million touches. He'll tip on, he'll run, he'll offload, he'll tackle bust. This goes away, which hurts a lot. But he does get the chance to play second receiver out the back and have a lot of those finishing touches now where he can either slide through for a try or throw the cut ball or short ball on the weekend for a try assist. So
the cut ball's the big one, and you'd almost call it the Cody Walker, who does a bit of sliding across both sides and throws that last ball as a sweeper.
So we'll see how often he bobs up on the left because that's going to become important. If he's right edge dominant, it just caps him a little bit for me, but there's no need to panic because the next couple of rounds are pretty good for the Sharkies. They'll look a good side. If he can get back the goal kicking, he could be back to scoring some good points. And
to emphasise, it was against Penrith. They're the best team in the NRL by a mile. Like, he got away with 50, he got an early try assist. It's not the end of the world. The goal kicking is the factor, but I'm
going to assume he's goal kicking just for now. Not saying he is, but let's just say he comes back in goal kicks. We'll be able to tell in the next week or two how he's looking. Let's see how he looks in touches because Penrith is it's just so difficult to tell. I thought he looked quite good because, in fact, if you lay on a try against Penrith, that's good stuff. They also just had their centre go off with the HIA a minute earlier, so it's just hard to judge. For me, it's concerning as a Hynes owner, if you own him, but it's not the end of the world because, as I said, at second receiver, he played a lot of that at Melbourne in his early days and killed it from a Supercoach perspective. So
I'm not that concerned about it at the moment in terms of playing style, but obviously need him goal.
And he's not based at 900,000. He's based on that 750.
Exactly right.
So I wouldn't panic. For me, as a non-owner, I went, not goal kicking, you beauty, not getting as many touches. But I was just noting that second receiver role. I said he could have a couple of big weeks coming up if the Sharkies can get away and do some damage. So, in terms of Duffy, I guess what would Duffy need to score in the next couple of weeks?
Well, here's a question from Pinguism. If you started Hynes and Cleary and you're locked into that, what average or sort of cash growth for Duffy would be seen as can't miss out on? So let's talk average. Let's say the next 2 weeks. Let's say Cleary and Nico come out in the next 2 weeks. They knock out their 80s in round 2, ahead of their first price rises. What's Duffy need to score for those owners to go, shit, I've got to downgrade one of them?
Let's say Hynes, gets his 80, looks pretty good. Cleary, I'm not selling, no way, because he scored 68. He would have had so much more, and I just think he's primed. barring health, for an absolute monster season.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare he scores big round one, but he's chomping at the bit. He started to run a bit. There were some clunky plays for Penrith while they were sorting a few things out. That'll come along. I think Nate's just if you own him, do not go anywhere near selling him.
Don't go near selling him or Hynes until
definitely not
3.
now, but I think season long.
Yeah.
Nath, lock him in. But
I think we'll refresh anyway.
But if you're a Hynes owner, look, the only scenario will be unless Hynes scores 150 and Cleary scores 50 and Duffy does this. If he averages 55 plus, I think you just have to get him in.
Yeah.
You have to. You can play him in your side. If he's goal kicking, averaging 55 plus, you just have to get him in, don't you? Maybe you put him in the flex, though. There are options if Hynes and Cleary are killing it.
Yeah, if 1v3 fullbacks for the majority of us have gone that way, goes no good, which is every chance.
Yep. However, if Nico and Cleary are looking pretty solid and you're happy with them, and Duffy is averaging under 45, let's call it 42.
Yep.
I don't think that screams must buy to me. I think you're looking in the 50 plus, with 55 plus being like, this is really good. We can play him on a week in, week out basis. It's probably about where I land.
Taking into consideration also in 2 weeks' time, I mean, firstly, if Duffy comes out this week and scores 70, don't pull the trigger early. Wait. Job security will be the other thing. Are the Cowboys winning? How's Duffy looking? Is he, at least in the short term, won this spot over Clifford? But if the Cowboys lose and he doesn't play that well, even if he does score 50s with a couple of tries this, you go, the job security isn't quite there.
Exactly.
So lots to weigh up, but I'm with you. I think that number is around about the 50 mark. Above that, you buy. 45 to 50, I think you're pretty close to the mark. You go, hard to pass up. Sub 45, I'm sticking with the guns and the points.
Yeah, heading into round 3, we'll have an answer.
We will.
Heading into round 3.
But the lesson is, Spy, don't bloody panic.
Don't panic.
We say it every year, do not panic. It's one game in. Spy, Panthers and Sharks. We'll start with that one on that topic. A few eye catchers from this one. Lindsay Smith, 73 points. I think he played 60 minutes, largely in base. He's priced at 524K. Good start from L. Smith.
He's so good too. Is he the one that reached out and nearly scored as well?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see how he looks next week and see who's to come back. So,
again,
he might be slotted
not
in.
that it probably impacted too much, but you did have the early injury to McLean there. So Laurie went onto the wing. Who, I don't know, maybe they'll bring him on as a middle. I don't think it would have changed too much. But a big watch on his minutes and output in round 2, Lindsay Smith. But
just that output plus the fact he can score a try. He looks good. He looks dangerous through the middle.
Shows me out Cleary. I think of the other ones there, no major surprises up top. Liam Martin, 58 in a great outing for him. He was actually flagged to me a little bit before, just going 80 minutes outside what's going to be a more dominant Nathan Cleary without Jerome Luai there. Started cheap. He was a sneaky little one there. Isaac Tungo looked decent, scored a good try off the Cleary kick. Isaiah Papali'i came off the bench, 43 points. No need to worry about him until starting. Was there anyone else that we really needed to touch on? Probably not at the Panthers spot.
Tell you what, Casey McLean's first run where he did get knocked out looked so good.
Yeah.
I think he half brushed someone, looked mobile, I was like, hello, and obviously went down. But if you don't own him, he'd be pretty cheap soon.
I know.
Sorry for owners, that sucks.
Yeah, so unlucky. For the Sharkies, they're going to be a good Supercoach side this year. The problem is they were pretty good last year, so they're all quite expensive. But like Cal Iro, 65, his base was down but scored a great try. Dressy Ramian, 93, super pod that we spoke about in the preseason, could easily go with him. Britton Nickera started with 66. Let's watch these guys for another week, but they'll probably deliver again. They're good footballers.
Yeah, wasn't Ramian unbelievable? He just looked like a next level.
Yeah. Adam Fanua-Blake.
Are we on him for top try scorer for the year or what?
Fanua-Blake, he's a joke.
He's going to kill it.
Straight over the top of all people, Isaiah Yeo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Obviously, we're playing with confidence and he's pretty motivated. So, yeah, we'll see. His minutes obviously the key watch, but he's going to kill it.
What do you end up on? About 55 minutes for that one?
I have a look, but obviously a game against Penrith, they would have been trying very hard to win. So maybe that's a reflection in tougher games. Maybe he plays less in easier games, which there should be plenty of for the Sharks if they play well. So
yeah, he'll have a hat-trick by the time he goes off.
But yeah, he's pretty tempting up front
54 minutes. So the minutes were down, as you said, and he was going to play big minutes in that game regardless,
Yeah.
being such a big one against Penrith.
So maybe he does get a few games in the 40s, which hurts, but he's going to score some tries.
God, he can play. And also there, Just looking if there's anything else we really needed to touch on. Sammy Stone Street, if you were looking at him as a potential super pod, 40 points. Put it this way. It was against Penrith in Vegas. They scored 22 points. The Supercoach players went quite well, so let's just keep an eye on week 2, but promising enough signs.
Yeah, not a bad start.
The mighty Raiders, haven't checked the betting, but probably new premiership favourites, 30-8 over the Warriors. Xavier Savage, 114, looked lethal in attack. Matty Timoko, 83. He was flagged as a potential improver this year off the back of an injury played last season where I think he had a niggle for a lot of it. Great stuff. Timoko looked excellent. Hudson Young, the gift that keeps on giving, 76. I think the major Supercoach talking point, firstly, Savage, don't jump the gun. See what he does in round 2.
Work rate,
suspended
though.
anyway, I
Work rate noted. So, obviously, if he comes out, he's one
but Hopewadi to come back, not that he's going to probably come in for Savage, but just believe he's suspended for 1 week. I don't know if they're fighting it or not, but Savelio Tamale, 73. Kid can play. We know he can attack. Tackle buster, fantastic for Supercoach. Raiders ball movement, looking a little bit better as well than recent years. That's a big factor. Bit of second phase play with that offloading, a good sign. So Tamale, I mean, you could jump on after this week once it unlocks. I'm happy to see how he goes in round 2. By round 3, Savage will be back in and Albert Hopewadi will also be available. Does he keep the spot? So let's just see him do it again in round 2.
Definitely wait. They play Brisbane at home round 2. If Walsh tears him a new one, maybe he doesn't hold his spot. Obviously, Albert Hopewadi back, good player. So there's just no real need to play him to buy him and play him against Brisbane round 2 when you just get a free look and see if he's named round 3.
Like if he has a shocker in round 2 and they end up going Hopewadi and Savage, which it's a decent chance. It's a genuinely decent chance. You'd just be kicking yourself.
Yeah, he's a monster.
But
monster with the ball in hand.
That being said, pencil him for round 2 by if you don't know him. Sorry, round 3 because he looks so good. Spy, if you want to touch on any of these, we've talked about Corey Horsburgh. If you don't have him in, he's one you can go early.
It's very rare you can say a must-own, absolute must-own, but Corey is indeed that, at that price.
Red Doog. Zach Hosking, 57 points. Looked good. Played, I think, about 60, 65 minutes. I think he'll be an 80-minute back rower. There's Matty Nicholson, the Englishman, to come in at some stage, whether he impacts that. But Hosking looked terrific. Bit unlucky on a try assist. What was your take on that one? People blowing up left, right and centre.
Well, technically, they give it to the person who creates the overlap, which was the man on his inside. Consistency-wise, it wasn't his.
Whether you like it or not, and I know a lot didn't, and I sort of went there and went, that's a great ball from Hosking, probably should get it.
They never go on, that was a better ball than the other tip on. It's just whoever creates the overlap. There is some sweeping stuff involved. There's no sweeps, so that's what it goes on.
Yeah. Kaya Weeks, 33. Give him another week. The Raiders, they look good. And that offloading is also vital.
Yeah, and just less room in Vegas. So if expand things out a bit with that offloading, Kaya, I nearly started with him. So he's a tempting one this year.
I didn't because I'm like, I just think the floor's not there if he doesn't get any attacking stats, and he finished with 33. So vindicated thus far.
Sam was talking him up, and I was like, get him in.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
And at the Warriors, we spoke about your CHT, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Loved it.
Did you start him?
I didn't, but I've already got a preset half plan to go Marju straight to him when the Knights have their bye. And I just needed to see him busy.
22 runs.
And the Raiders' defence was immaculate.
Yeah.
Add those, make 1 or 2 tackle busts, 8, and all of a sudden, he's just walking to 55 without doing anything. Or more.
Jeez, exciting.
So,
moving down the list there, Aaron Clark, 47, off the bench. Pretty good numbers considering.
If he starts, one to monitor there.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Ali Laatawa, one that I was eyeing off a little bit in the preseason, 33. Bludger of a game all round for the Warriors. So, give him another chance if you did take the pod route, but reassess for round 3. We sort of spoke about him before, but Hallerseam and Vormega both played poor minutes, and I just think, see if that changes round 2, and if not, catcher.
I do think there's, just watching the Warriors, not just round 1, because you don't overreact to one round, but based on last year, they just lack go forward and winning momentum through the ruck. So maybe one of those boys becomes someone they rely on.
At some point, could happen for sure. I was surprised they only played as few minutes as they did.
So we'll see. Just keep an eye on.
Matty, anything from Vegas we sort of haven't touched on there? Any eye catches, any movement to your side as a result?
Again, I was pretty conservative when it came to the Vegas games. So not particularly. Savage is the big one. He's such a good player. And he kind of showed it last year, but he came out of the blocks last year. He could dead set play Origin one day for Queensland. He's that good. It's a shame he's been suspended.
He does. He's lethal in attack. Defence is another question.
For sure.
Improved, but there's work to do there. He still half got found out a couple of times there. Even the intercept was put in his chest. He was sort of caught in no man to land a little bit, and they just sat on his chest. But
well, he went for it again 10 minutes later, and they scored.
Exactly.
Not necessarily completely his fault, but
yeah.
But
yes, the upside there and the improvement we've seen from him year on year already. For sure. Yeah, he could be something special.
Yeah, 100%. Otherwise, not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't jump the gun on Xavier. Give him another week. Round 3, that'll be. That's the beauty of Xavier. We can now wait till after round 3.
We get to round 4, you beauty.
Yeah, fantastic.
But yeah, if he's as busy as he was, he's just such an athlete. So if he can combine that with work rate, could be bloody handy.
Yeah.
Tell you what, you and Desi did crack me up about 2 weeks ago when you were impersonating me. I was listening to the car and I burst out laughing.
Yeah, one of the greats, that one.
I don't know what the call was that you said, but I was like,
just replicating some of your finest work.
Fair play.
Guys, they mentioned last couple of weeks, but we've had a rate cut. So if you're a homeowner and you're sitting there going, what does this mean for me? Well, it basically means there's plenty of value moving around in the rate market. So it might be time to reach out to Paddy and his team at Mortgage Choice SCW to see how much money they can save you. Alternatively, guys, if you're sitting there right now, you've been working your butt off year after year, you're sitting on a small fortune, you're thinking about getting into the housing market, you've got no idea what that means, what that entails, how to do it, take the step, make it a reality, flick the team a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW, or you can give them a buzz on 02 9521 1611. Now, Spy, a quick little chat about, I want to talk about the 2RF position. In terms of our teams, we'll update those on the website this week, and you can check those out. But back row, I'm struggling with it a little bit. I have ended up with the money that I saved going Cleary down to Duffy. I've used that cash to bolster my back row a little bit, and I feel good about it. I feel so much more secure about it. What's your back row looking like at the moment, heading into part 2 of round 1? What
I've done, I've gone with the guys I consider to be pretty handy as well, rather than those mid-rangers. But I've got Tino in my back row.
Yeah.
Just because there wasn't a lot of people screaming out by me. So I also have Tukey Simpkins in my front row on the bench as a non-playing dual option, which means Tino can be a front row or back row option for me any week, which I like. Or Corey Horsburgh, he's the same, but just gives me that added flexibility and not having to rely on my bench players as much in the front row there. But it's Hamoli Olakau'atu, Jacob Preston, Tino Fasuamala-Awi, and Seyfarth is my 4th one. So I do have Geimer and Hubner, which I'm happy with, but Seyfarth is my 4th option there. And he'll have a crack, he'll work hard. He's my one mid-ranger out of the guys we mentioned. So I'm always happy to go one because you sort of have to a degree. That's where I'm at, mate. I feel quite good about it. I really want Eli Katoa. I'll decide right up till the Manly kickoff game whether I'm going to do it. But I think in my head I was like, if Olakau'atu comes out and he can average 80 over the first 3 weeks, that's 240 points, whereas Ellie will be really relying on a monster score versus Para then. So I think the safety in numbers is Olakau'atu, who I will keep regardless. I'll ideally lock him in as a keeper, so it's not someone I'm just planning to trade, and then I'll get someone to Eli Katoa as soon as I can. They're kind of my boys at the moment. What about yourself?
I've flipped it entirely with a lot more money to play with, and I feel good about it. I've also gone Olakau'atu. I've gone Jermaine Hopgood.
Yep.
I've gone Alex Seyfarth, and then I've got, I think I'm pretty happy locking Geimer and Hubner as cheapies, along with, for the moment, Fini Fuiaki. You can do as much D as I can on this one and potential minutes and see what we can find out, but I just think potentially the best of a bad lot. You know, there's an option there like Kobe Hetherington. We spoke a fair bit about him pre-show. With no knock to him as a footballer, because he's a great footballer, Hetherington, but I think he might be like either him or Fini Fuiaki, the best of a bad lot. I think there is no upside in Hetherington. He looked awesome in the trials, though. 4-forward bench, not ideal, depending on what they do sort of with Billy Walters there. But what I do think about Hetherington, if you go with him at about 330k he is, I think he's going to get decent minutes. I think at the worst case he's going to earn a little bit of money, and if you need to play him, I think he's going to knock out 40 to 50 points for you. I don't see him getting much worse than that, because I think he's locked into that number 13 role. So I don't mind that play. But yeah, Olakau'atu, I love their draw to start. I like Manly this year. I love his upside, so I've gone him. Seyfarth, I've mentioned a few stats around him already this season, but priced on a 44-point average from 48 minutes last year. 3 80-minute games, he averaged 63. Just looking at games where he played decent minutes, just good base.
He has a crack.
He has a crack. So getting named captain in that second trial for the Tigers was a great sign, I think, for Alex Seyfarth. And Jermaine Hopgood, the one that I hadn't majorly considered all pre-season because I tried to go more mid-ranges around the 2RF, but a lot of us got burnt by that last year. I'm still a little scarred. And there are a lot of good back row options. And Hopgood had injuries last year, had a few minutes reduced, still scored well enough, but go out to 2023, his first full season, he averaged 73 points per game and he was a must. He's just the package though, Spy. Big minutes, huge motor, huge work rate, he offloads, he busts tackles, and he's got attacking upside. Not just scoring, but he's creative with his ball playing. So I just looked at him and I sort of went, why not Jermaine Hopgood?
Yeah, literally the only reason not to do it would be he's coming off that back injury. Backs could be troublesome, but he could also be fine. So that's just something you're taking a minor punt on there with Hopgood. But you're right, if he's healthy, he's a hell of a player, so you'd enjoy owning him, no doubt about that.
And mate, you mentioned Eli Katoa. Is there anyone else that you sort of look to add in there? Could you pay out for Angus Crichton or David Fafita in those roles? You mentioned Katoa, you're keen on. Kaloa Matangi on the edge, Maxi Plass, we've sort of spoken about. You've got Dylan Lucas at CT Dub. Thoughts? Or are you happy with the premiums that you've gone with?
I like my premiums, but I did have a good look at Britton Nickera. Nearly went to him, actually. Then he scored. That was a bit filthy, but he scored okay. But I think he could be in for a big season as well. I do think Kobe Hetherington, you mentioned earlier, I quite like him. He's, out of all those cheaper guys, like sort of mid-cheap, he would be the one I'd pick. But I've gone down to Guymer because 100k or so could be pretty handy elsewhere. But I may end up starting with Kobe, depending on
He's
what I do with my
reliable
centres.
with little to no upside.
I think that's what I want early in the year from that. I don't want the mid-range guy who's going to score me 80 or 10. I just want to lock in 50 to 55 and go, thank you.
I don't
take the money.
I'm not sure he'll get to the 55, but you know, maybe he does jag a try here or there, or pops an offload for a try. I think he did in the trial potentially. So
I'd say 45-50 actually.
yeah,
that
go
might be more
45-50. I
reasonable.
think it's a bit more reasonable.
I think he's a good look, but we'll see where we land there.
I did watch the trial game. Who was it against? The day game.
I think they pumped the Dolphins.
Titans.
Or the Titans, was it?
He looked so good in that game, in hot conditions, I think. So, yeah.
Have you considered starting Tino in your back row and getting a dual front row like I have, just to give you some depth?
You know what? Well, you say depth, but you're going an MPR in the front row. That's like the opposite to depth.
But Tino covers both. At the moment, you've only got Tino in the front row. So if your back row hits the skids at all with Tuilagi and Seyfarth, you don't have anyone to cover it. I do.
Yeah,
Just
but
have a look at it.
I also am happy, like, injuries obviously that'll come in, but Seyfarth will require 2 Hopgood. I'm happy with all three, play them every week. And then if 1 week I have to play one of Tuilagi, Guymer, Hubner and Tuilagi both starting, I can do that. I see your point.
Yep.
And I will say, for about the first time ever, it's crossed my mind to start with an MPR in Tui Simpkins because I'm just going, I've got Royce Hunt there at the moment who may do nothing for me, so I'm like, maybe now's the time. It's a bigger squad. It could happen, so...
Who's your loop option next week when you VC Tommy Turbo on a Friday night? I don't know what day he plays. And he scores 140. And then...
people looking into loops way too much. I know there's more opportunity this year. I get it, but I've checked it and I've got a... Who's got the bye next week?
It goes Melbourne and then Saints. So you won't have anyone from those two sides.
Melbourne round 2.
Yep, and then St George round 3.
I've got a freaking 26-man squad. Someone will get dropped or won't be playing. And Saints, I did have petroled in as my round 3 looper, Sione Finau, who's now been dropped. So again, teams have just dropped. Anyway.
I think there's more opportunity to VC loop this season.
All right, let's get on to captains. Who's your VC and C, and what number do you need from your VC this week to loop?
Well, I was going to say about 90.
Yeah.
Which would never be in the past, but Metcalf's buggered that because I was relying on, let's say Metcalf scored 35 and you can just roll that into your side. And then what would happen is this year, say Ponga got 92, I could bring in Tino and my lowest score would drop out, which would ideally be my auto emergency. So it means you're not actually losing out on anything. But now that Metcalf's
playing the
got
VC,
12,
if you can wrangle it a bit later in the round, having a bit better of an idea of what that'll look like, it'll help, won't it?
yeah, if you can leave your captaincy decision until as late as possible. You'll know how your squad has scored pretty well, and you'll be able to make a call.
But to get your VC in, your C in, and having the looper as well, a lot needs to align. But if you can, later the better.
Yeah, it might just align some weeks. But basically now Metcalf will hopefully drop out for me with a 12, which means I will be then taking on board my auto emergency round 1. So that takes us back to last year where instead of 90, I'd probably need... I haven't really run the numbers yet, but maybe at least 110 from Ponga, or if maybe I'll go a Walsh on a Thursday night, just depending who I've got to drop out of my side. But yeah, other weeks I think it's going to be shorter, depending on how the rest of your squad scores. But probably this week, now that Metcalf's done it, probably 110 plus at an early estimate. But yeah, if Metcalf would have scored more, I could have maybe rolled a 90 early just to see how we've done. But Tommy excites me at Brookie round 1.
Yeah, Ponga VC, Turbo C for me, and also a Metcalf owner. So to have that MPR 0, which would be Tino in my team, and a 12 for Metcalf. Obviously, the 0 drops out. Yeah, I probably want 110 to 120 with when Tommy Turbo's captain versus the Cows.
No, 0 won't drop out. Your auto emergency will
drop out. Sorry,
but now it won't because of Metcalf.
Yeah,
more than likely. So it's just annoying.
Yeah,
but that can happen some weeks, which is what you're saying. And this could get confusing, especially if you don't know much about loops. So we might talk about it a little bit next week. But in short, over 100 still this week.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into loops next week. A few questions before we wrap it up. You sort of half touched on this one, but one from Anton Possa. Who's the better pick out of Corey Pucks and Peter Mamazelos? Asking for a friend who happens to have the same name as me. Spite?
I didn't touch on it. I blatantly said Mamazelos. So, Anton, how are you, mate? Go the Whales. Good luck. And,
I agree.
Yeah, for me, I'm comfortable playing Pete in my side. Whereas Pax, no, he's just another bloke that he'll be a bench fodder that could make a little bit of coin, but I just don't really trust him, to be honest.
I also have, I don't own him, but I think Mamazelos is the better buy there. One from Supercoach, late mail, Reese winner. Who makes it to 600k first? We've answered this already in Kelmer or Seyfarth because we both have Seyfarth.
Yep.
But I did want to bring it up because I will say one thing. Of the two, Kelmer would hit 600k first, because he's got more upside and I think try scoring ability and all that. Whereas I think Seyfarth, he's consistent and might get to like 550k. But if Kelmer, I don't know if Seyfarth's good enough Supercoach-wise to get to 600k.
He might get to 601.
So he might, to 601. Whereas Kelmer could explode and get to 600.
Yeah, he could.
But Seyfarth is a way safer buy in my opinion.
And obviously, on the flip side, Seyfarth is extremely likely not to lose money. He could, but compared to Kelmer, who could absolutely lose cash. So it's just... depends on your personality type there for round 1, I think. Who do you want? Risk versus reward, but Seyfarth for me.
One from Jeff Lane. Load up on the KP Sharp combo and also your favourite USA food while in Vegas. I'll answer part 2 firstly, and I know this is plain Jane. Look, I'm a pretty plain Jane kind of guy, and when I get over to the state, I just want to devour buffalo wings. They just do wings on a new level to what we do. They're unbelievable. Also,
is buffalo the flavour or the size? Like, you can get barbecue chicken, barbecue sauce wings, spicy.
No, buffalo's the sauce.
Yeah, so I don't actually love the buffalo. I'm more of a barbecue sauce man. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway. Buffalo with a bit of blue cheese or something.
Yeah. Well, when I was in Vegas, back in the day, I was down for a southern fried chicken burger. Wings on the side, of course. You know, both.
With more chicken on the side. In-N-Out Burger, also one of the greatest takeaway burgers you'll ever have in your entire life.
But also Sharp. I love Sharp.
Back to Sharp.
I think he's an utter machine. I have since day dot.
Yeah.
And the trials, he's going to get a chance to run.
Tempted or happy to watch? You own a lot of nights already, so you can't.
I couldn't with the 3 nights I've got, but I reckon...
Let's say you're a team that owns
one or none. I reckon if you're a bit more of a casual player and you quite like the nights, put Sharp in and just see what he can do and enjoy it. If you're dead serious, I think there's a bit of risk attached because I don't know what his base is going to be at 5'8" yet. We just don't know that.
Does no attacking stats look like 25 points? Or does no attacking stats look like 15 runs and a few tackle busts and it's 40 or something?
Yeah, if it was 45, I'd plug him straight in, but we just don't know. We've got no data on that yet. So, it's risky. But if you're a bit more cash, throw him in and enjoy the Sharp show. He's a weapon.
Yeah. I'm a watch early. But by round, he's one of the ones that by round 3 we could be going, get him in, like he's a gun. A watch for me. One from Shea Jordan, with Metcalf shitting the bed and Adam Dewey as the backup 5'8", is it worth reshuffling the team now to have someone like Dillbags, Dylan Brown, or stability, or is Adam Dewey still a viable 5'8"? So basically, it goes on to say, do we just call the Jets on Metcalf? He might come good, he's goal kicking, etc. I know we sort of mentioned we're both happy to wait on Metcalf. Was there enough there that you start changing your plans a little bit? As you said, for someone with Adam Dewey in there, Dewey at centre, what happens if Appy comes back and kicks goals? I don't think he will, but he could. Do you shore it up with like a Dylan Brown or Cam Munster early?
That, or leave some money spare to go Metcalf up. Put it like this, I'm making contingency plans to sell Metcalf. He could very well come good and settle into his role and start running more. But if it's anything like the weekend, I'm not going to be waiting around too long. If Galvin comes out on Friday and does what I hope Galvin does, I may even just keep that spare 200k so I can go straight from Metcalf to Galvin.
I like that. If you're that panicked about it, and there's reason to suggest you should be, if you can keep, doesn't have to be 200, but pardon me, if you can look to keep 80 to 100 in your cap, even 60 to 100, just that bit extra to maybe try and get yourself to a Munster, or maybe it's a mid 500k player who starts the season well. Could be a Cody Walker, could be a Matty Burton who's a bit more expensive. If you're that concerned, just keep a bit extra in your cap to make that move in round 3 a bit easier, yeah?
Yeah, in saying that, I don't mind the idea either of getting a gun 5'8".
Yeah.
Because then you could just
But regardless, if Metcalf goes no good, you're still selling him.
Yeah,
so
but you just go Metcalf down, so you wouldn't have to worry about what you're doing. So Metcalf would then go down in round 3.
To who?
Probably a cheapie. If you've got a gun, you don't need a backup good 5'8".
Oh, Spy. Jeez, it's going to be a long season.
Chanel. There'll be someone there.
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting on a name. Anyway, one that you're keen on, Spy, but he's not in your team, I noted, for someone who you're going to back yourself all season. 2RF, tough position. Jared Walker is Preston, Jacob Preston, that is, a watch for minutes with Satili Tupanura on the bench. You've gone cold on him.
No, he's in my side. I must forgot to mention him.
Maybe I wasn't
Thought
listening.
it was just assumed.
Okay.
Jay Preston.
You may have said it.
I'm not getting involved in all this hype that Preston may or may not play 80 because it's based on nothing. And if he doesn't play 80, then that's fine. We'll deal with it at the time. But if he does play 80 and scores a ton, I'll be absolutely livid. So, yeah, he's not going anywhere, Jay Preston. Not saying he won't come out and play 63 minutes, but let's see it first before I start dropping the big dog.
Lockie McCarron to wrap things up, and this is an interesting one. Is it worth paying up round 1 for Jaden Campbell at 5'8", or even go AJ Brimson? I look at that 5'8" position, there's some decent options. Jaden Campbell, we know he has the potential to explode, Spy.
Oh, I'm so keen on Jaden.
Everything
my whole side is based on. I wouldn't start with him, no. Just the buy, and let's see how he looks. His maximum price based on a good year last year.
Moving to 7 as well.
Moving to 7. Let's see how they look after the buy. But my whole side's based around dropping one of my 3-gun fullbacks in round sort of 4. Unless they're absolutely monstering it, in which case I'll be flying and I can keep them, to do stuff like that, Metcalf to Jaden Campbell, those sorts of moves. So, right on the radar. But I'm not going to start with him, but
he did improve.
He's exciting.
He did average better in the halves last season. Priced on a 72-point average. That's across fullback and 5'8" last season. In his 11 games in the halves, though, he did average 78.89.
Nice.
Scored 3 sub-46 scores in that. It's not too bad, but none of them are horrible, I don't believe. So, 78.5. So, he's a serious watch.
I hope he's still sweeping out the back, wearing the number 7 jersey, because he did a lot of his damage.
That'll be the watch.
Receiver.
We need him sweeping, throwing that last pass.
Second receiver for Jaden. And first, that's fine, but both. He needs to do both.
As for AJ Brimson, could be a steal at CT Dub. Let's just see him get through the first few weeks. They've got the bye. Just watch.
I love Brimo.
Before we wrap it up, Matty, didn't go to you for your 2RF, but you mentioned pre-show Johnny Bateman is on your radar. He's more than on your radar.
He's in my team. Yeah, he's in my team. I just think, he was a gun at the Raiders. I know he's getting older. I know he's had a tough couple of years at the Tigers, but he still went okay at the Tigers despite, really, he didn't play good. And the team around him didn't play good, but he still scored okay. I think the Cowboys are going to be, I don't know if they're going to win heaps and heaps of games this year, but they're certainly going to score a lot of points this year. There's been injuries in the position that he's in, so I think there's only up for Johnny Bateman. I'm also going Gilbert. As soon as he was named captain for the Dolphins, and he's such a cheap price, I threw him straight in. I really want to get Hopgood. I'm going to try and find a way to get him in. I think that Eels bench makes me want to get him.
It's good for him.
But I'll see what I can do. But at the moment, I obviously got Ola Kawatu. He was in from day one. But those are my three at the moment.
Yeah. Very nice. On Johnny Bateman, price on a 53-point average from 71 minutes last season at the Tigers. Pretty obvious to say. I don't think he really wanted to be there. It just didn't all work out. In his 9 80-minute games, though, he averaged 61.78. Biggest thing about him, Spy, in those games, firstly, he had 60 in base twice in those. No tries, 1 try assist. It was all in work.
Yeah, speaking of blokes that'll have a crack, he fits the mould of just, Matty, locking in a bloke who you want just to do a real solid job for you that opening 4 to 6 weeks, and then you might find some value around that position later on.
All right, guys, that'll do us for the SC Playbook podcast this week. As I said, please like and subscribe the video on YouTube if you're on Spotify, Apple, all that sort of stuff. Good to be back in studio and on Aussie soil. Spy, thank you, mate.
I was hoping you were going to say you've been big, because I was going to say, yes, I have. And then you didn't say it.
You've been big. I normally
You
do.
say it to me every week.
Yeah,
and the first time I had a comeback, you didn't.
Maybe I just didn't think you'd been big this week.
It's fair enough. I thought I was good. That's all right. Actually...
That's rattled you, hasn't it?
No, I was going to say, I can't quite believe footy's actually back. Yeah. It's a bit like a dream. Like, sometimes I'll sit there during the day, I'm like, can we swear on this yet, or? No, we won't. Footy's back in my head.
Save that for Guru, mate.
Yeah.
PG-13 on this one.
I'm pumped. But yeah, no, I'm so excited, eh? So good. But good luck, boys, round 1. Good luck, everyone out there.
Very, very exciting. Plenty more to come from SC Playbook this week, guys. Beers and break even tomorrow with the Guru dropping slightly later. It'll be about 4 or 5 o'clock, I think, so not too far off. But have a good weekend and good luck in round 1.